Marvel and DC have become too big and too comfortable for their own good.
Ladies, gentlemen, you've eaten well. You've eaten Gotham's wealth.
Public interest in superhero movies is at an all-time low, and movies like Blue Beetle and The Marvels are struggling to make a significant splash in pop culture compared to older movies like Man of Steel or Iron Man. And while yes, the quality of these movies impacts how we think about these movies, I think there's a bigger problem here. Take Blue Beetle, the movie I mentioned before. This film was so good, people loved it, yet it barely received any promotion or advertisement, and when it came to the box office, it suffered. Yes, it came out during an awkward time at DC, right when the heads of the company were being kicked out or jumping the sinking ship that it used to be, and when James Gunn and Peter Safran took over and restored peace to the land, it was too late. Blue Beetle had no funding to promote itself. But what if I told you that there was an even better way to promote a movie? Not just to promote it, but to elevate it as a whole. A cheaper way for studios to get butts and seats in the theaters, and for creativity to flow from the script writer's laptop to the movie screen and back out the audience's butt. And I think that the best option for both consumer, us, and the movie studio specifically, is if they start engaging in the most ridiculous form of entertainment promotion: public beef. Today I'll be explaining why DC Studios and Marvel Studios need to start a turf war in the movies and promotional campaigns. I will involve Kevin Feige, James Gunn, and everybody in the cast of every upcoming superhero movie who needs to start taking shots at each other. And I'm serious, we need superhero movies to make a comeback. I'm Carlos from COLLISTICA, and let me prove to you why Marvel and DC need to start beefing again.
Let them fight.
Okay, so obviously, superhero movies never really went away. Big budget studio superhero movies made in Hollywood still make multiple millions of dollars guaranteed. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a movie so reviled by critics and audiences alike, managed to turn a profit and is no longer considered a flop. Which is, okay, woohoo, a multi-billion-dollar company made more money.
Vive la révolution! Vive la révolution!
The main problem here is that despite the telltale signs of a decreasing quality in these movies, both studio and company heads managed to ignore all the red flags and continue to pump out borderline garbage. Don't get me wrong, I like some parts of even the worst movies. Okay, not you, Morbius. Not you, Madam Web either. Get back to your kennel. Get. But what happened to movies like The Dark Knight or Guardians of the Galaxy? I know what happened. Those movies came out during a time when superhero movies and their studios were still young, scrappy, and hungry. They were still trying to prove themselves. And you may ask, but haven't there been good superhero movies around since the 90s? Well, yes, good point. But the creators and the studios still had to constantly prove themselves. It wasn't until basically Infinity War that the superhero genre had hit an all-time high in 2018 and rode that wave until 2019 for Endgame. But before then, Marvel and especially DC were still in their growing stages when it came to movies. After Endgame, a lot of people pretty much gave up and were left satisfied. Many simply stopped investing time and energy watching the upcoming movies, and those who didn't walk away quickly ran into movies that just didn't connect or landed the way the creators and audiences hoped it would.
Have sex, accept. My answer yes. My best.
Studios began chasing the high of Endgame and looked for the next profit by any means necessary. DC rushed their dumpster fire plan of rebooting and reviving their shared universe, and Marvel quickly learned that they could make money just by pumping out titles, no matter how well made they were or how they were.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
There were some good gems in the pile, but overall, people got their hopes up time after time.
Time after time.
And they quickly got tired, me included. The continuity in these films just didn't exist anymore, and the timeline was all muddled together, and there was barely even any connection between any of the films and shows. DC had contract problems with their stars, and Marvel seemed to not have a well thought out plan moving into the Kang Dynasty saga, which is now non-existent because Kang decided to, Everyone on the internet, and more specifically YouTube, voiced these problems, and the issues went mainstream. Variety magazine published this. So, what are the studios doing now? Well, DC is under new management. Peter Safran and James Gunn are helming the leadership roles and are promising an exciting and organized lineup of shows and movies for the DC universe. Kevin Feige promised to cut back on the quantity being released, and Marvel is now focusing on quality. And so far, Agatha all along is proving him right. Although it's still too early to say, as we have yet to see the rest of the promised slate to come out. So, we're good, right? Right? Well, not in my opinion. I think that the chicks have been out of the nest for too long, and now we've moved on to more exciting things. More people are demanding actors to take on more traditional mid-budget movie roles, and I don't blame them. Good mid-budget movies making comeback was what I prayed for every night to come true. Those movies are true cinema, and actors generally seem to be more respected because of their participation in that field. Audiences have become more sophisticated, more refined. Just kidding. We can't fool ourselves. While we enjoy a good movie that makes the little gears in our head break the cobwebs up, audiences still clamor for trash. The kind of trash that only comes from drama. Drama as entertainment just tickles our little monkey brains, and we can't help but pick sides when complete strangers are having a disagreement. After that, we're totally invested. We have to find out who ends up on top. Marvel and DC need to tap into that. Invincible on Prime Video has seen large success since it came out after the superhero hype had almost completely dwindled. Maybe people weren't tired of superheroes. Maybe people just needed a fresh take on the genre. Invincible proved just that, a fresh, gory take. And that wasn't all. The Boys on Prime Video parodied both studios alongside with celebrity culture and prompted big changes in how people in and out of the entertainment industry approached public relations. So, maybe people were tired of celebrities? Yes and no. People hate celebrities now more than ever, but they also love them now more than ever. And when a well-liked celebrity goes up against another well-liked celebrity, things get heated. The back and forth is intense, and everyone knows that these altercations are a matter of life and death, because at the end of the day, these beefs can ruin the loser's career, or at least just put a big dent in their Wikipedia. So can Marvel and DC afford to do this? I think that they can't afford not to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how this machine worked.
When Drake and Kendrick Lamar were in the middle of their beef, every song they put out was streamed in high numbers. Now, Drake's reputation might have suffered in the end and may never recover from that, but that's just one case. Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter had a public beef, and fans parasocially picked sides. Their music and print on pop culture benefited, and better yet, there were no losers in this story, in my opinion. Yeah, no losers. Ignore that. As long as the hate between Marvel and DC is real, the fans will passionately be watching. The studios won't even have to worry about money, because the money will come. Well, maybe their only worry would be about their fans getting a little too crazy. Everyone knows how overzealous fans can get sometimes. Especially comic book fans. Those nerds can make the West Coast versus East Coast rap scene look like a middle school lunch debate.
The East Coast don't love Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
But how will Marvel and DC do this? Easy. The divide is already there. The argument people have had since the 1970s over whether DC or Marvel having the better comic books is still alive and well today, and a large part of those arguments are made over the movies. Of course, Marvel has had the better track record, while DC has only managed to have a handful of successes in film. They mostly win in the animated movies and series department. That's their strong suit at the moment. But things are changing. James Gunn succeeded in making the Guardians of the Galaxy, complete unknowns before 2014, it's not a joke, I'm being for real, look it up, into household names for God's sake. And now he's the head of DC Studios after saving the Suicide Squad from complete destruction from its reputation by releasing a sequel with almost the exact same name as the first one. Yeah, this man is a god among mortals. And one way to help him secure victory over his old bosses at Marvel is by taking direct shots at them. Marvel could benefit from this. Right now, there's Steve Rogers if he got his super soldier serum drained out of him, but he's not down for the count yet. He's wiping the blood off his face from the punches the critics gave him. He's wiping the blood off his face from the punches the critics gave him, and he's whispering to himself, I could do this all day. You corny son of a gun, but that's good, that's good. He needs to regain that super soldier serum, and the only way to revitalize Marvel at this point is to continue to produce quality over quantity, of course. But Kevin Feige needs to go on the offense here. He needs to ask the people developing these titles to sneak diss DC in the form of Easter eggs or something. The reaction channels would go crazy over this, I'm sure. I'm looking at you, Eric Boss from New Rockstars. This would generate excitement. Think about it. To this day, the two studios have been very distant and afraid to touch the other studio, or they're just completely amicable with each other, just too friendly. And I don't blame them. I blame the legal departments. Come on, guys. Put aside the threat of a lawsuit and promise not to involve the law here. What we want is a good, clean, old-fashioned brawl between two giants. If the comics can get away with it, then so can the movies. Oh, take for example the comics. Look over here. The comics are fighting dirty, and guess what? They have been for years. What's been happening in the comics is so funny. Characters have been ripped off, parodied. Separate pocket universes have been created to rip off and parody the other comics company. It's been a thing since basically forever ago, and continues to this day. Look at Darkseid breaking the neck on this guy in the comic from 2 years ago. That's DC's pastiche of Thanos, who is already the analogous version of Darkseid in Marvel. Comics aren't afraid. It does get ridiculous sometimes when you look at Deadshot, Deathstroke, Deadpool, and Deathlock. Okay, YouTube Bloodshot. Speaking of which, come over here, Deadpool. The Deadpool movies have never really held back on the fourth wall breaking. But if we look at the third installment with Wolverine, specifically the scene with Henry Cavill, we see that this,
we will treat you so much better than those shacks down the street.
that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you earn yourself $1.34 billion worldwide. Of course, none of that matters when you have stars who aren't willing to burn bridges. These actors need to start getting territorial over these movies. They need to not just memorize their lines or be worried about leaking something from the movie in the promotional tours. They need to be worried about how they're gonna diss the other studio in those interviews they do. Right now, it's Martin Scorsese versus the superhero genre. What it needs is to be Pedro Pascal versus David Cornsweet writing mean things about each other under their Instagram posts. Love, not hate, more like make the other guy cry, am I right? I don't care if they're in both universes, they can... Okay, they're exempt. I'm not gonna ask them to risk their careers, but all you other actors, hell, please get the directors in on this too. Please, be petty. Now that the talent is beefing, people's eyes are on the two franchises. The masses are rooting for their own team. They have to release works of art. They have to technically and artistically outdo each other. No more half-ing these projects. No more content. Just cinema. Just art. Pure entertainment, meant to appease the masses and shut the rival up. Marvel hits us with the masterpiece. DC hits us back with another. It's a cacophony of beauty. The movies tell us moving stories. The characters connect with us on levels we haven't felt since Phase 1. The action has us on the edge of our seats again. But this is all wishful thinking. The reality of it is that things we don't know happen behind closed doors. Creativity is continuously being used to produce what the creators think is a good piece of film. Even in the worst movie, there is someone pouring their heart and soul into their craft. Drama or no drama, the superhero world is just going through a period of change. To refresh DC and Marvel is proving to be a difficult process of trial and error, just like anything else really. Just because you didn't like the Marvels doesn't mean that the cast and crew didn't put their whole effort into it. The behind-the-scenes documentaries that highlight the artists and technicians show us that people who work every day on these movies are passionate about their projects. And to ask them to start fighting with complete strangers or sometimes even their friends and colleagues who just happen to work for the rival company just isn't fair. It's true, the comics have been using tongue-in-cheek references to their respective rival, but they're pulling their punches. Deep down inside, the artists respect their fellow creatives and realize that joking around like that is just a form of respect. But wouldn't it be entertaining? I'm not asking anyone to go overboard. All I want is for the people who work for Marvel to prove that they care about the characters and the stories they're presenting us. For the people at DC to show us that they care about Superman, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho enough to yell it from the top of the mountain that they don't care if they offend their rival. That their franchise is the best and there's no one who can do anything about it. To embody those debates that friends have amongst each other, can Batman take on Spider-Man's rogues gallery? If we're getting into that, I think that no, back on track. There doesn't need to be a winner. As long as they both compete and manage to outperform each other for a long period of time, just like how they're doing on the comic side, everyone ends up winning, especially the people sitting down with popcorn and a drink. The ones who watch at home with their family and friends and discuss afterwards what they just saw. They're the real winners of the rivalry. The studios have eaten well, but we as audience members have been peckish as of lately. I want to thank my buddy Gaius, who sent me this meme a few days ago and inspired me to make this video. It's my first video essay in the longest time. I've obviously gotten rusty, but nonetheless, I enjoy doing what I do, and I want to make this a continual thing. So if you want to support me right now, please like this video and subscribe to COLLISTICA, and if you want to leave feedback, please leave a comment. And if you want to voice your opinion, please leave a comment. And if you know if either Batman or Spider-Man would have an easier time with each other's rogues gallery, please have a debate in the comments, or better yet, make a video on the topic and then let everyone know in the comments so we can watch your video. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.